Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We got some people coming in here, and I want to be sensitive to people's time that showed up at 7:30. So we're going to get rolling on that. So first, my name is Jeffrey Tadlock. Probably a lot of you follow me either on Facebook or Instagram or here on YouTube. And I just wanted to do this YouTube live. Like I think this is my first time I've ever done a YouTube live. So we'll see how it goes. It should be pretty interesting. Granted, I do a lot of videos, but usually I have the luxury of being able to edit and sort of cut out my ums and ahs and things like that and get it out there. So we'll see how this goes. But I wanted to talk just a little bit about workshops and go over my 2025 workshops. And I thought this format would be a nice way to do it. So like I said, if you have questions along the way, drop them in the chat. I will answer them when I get a chance to look at them and go from there. Again, I have the YouTube channel. I lead workshops regionally. I'm based out of Ohio. And so most of my workshops are either in the Ohio, West Virginia area, though we're going to expand from there. So the three main things we're going to cover today is one, the 3 reasons to attend a landscape photography workshop. And this doesn't have to be one of my workshops. This could just be, why would you want to consider attending one? Even if I'm not your choice of a workshop leader, there's still some reasons I think going to a workshop is good. Then, like I said, we'll hit the 2025 workshops that I announced last week, sort of go over those, take a quick look at them. It's not really going to be a sales pitch. It's really going to be more of an overview of the workshop and what we do there, whether it's a single day, multi-day, and anything like that. And then at the very end, we'll wrap up with a little bit of Q&A, which can either be about why, attending a workshop in general, question about my workshops, or something landscape photography oriented from there. So with that, let's dive into the 3 reasons to attend a landscape photography workshop. So one of the first reasons is it's really sort of a great way to immerse yourself in landscape photography and get your questions answered real time. So YouTube's super powerful. We know that. I put videos on YouTube and I'm always happy to help people on YouTube. But one of the problems with learning through YouTube and doing that is you sort of have to know what you're after. You sort of have to know what you're looking for. So you'll go in and ask some specific question and you'll get that answer. But it leaves a lot of those unknowns, things you might not have thought to ask about, unsaid. You don't know to go look for something. You don't see a piece of advice. You don't find any of that when you're going searching on YouTube. When you're at a landscape photography workshop, it's sort of this whole immersive experience, and you've got an instructor right there with you to answer your questions, and you can get immediate feedback. So for example, if you're at a workshop and you're working on focus stacking and we're out there, if you're at a workshop, you can ask someone right there, versus if you're out there on your own, you run into a question, you have to pack up, you go home, look it up on YouTube, hope you find the right video that talks about your camera, talks about how to do it. That YouTube video is not going to know the scene you were just looking at. But if you're at a landscape photography workshop, there's someone there to help you right there with the scene you're standing in front of. So if you're standing in front of that scene and we want to focus stack it, you can call the instructor over and we can go over it. We can talk about where you want to focus, how many shots you want to take, and then we can talk a little bit about how we put it all together. If it's a multi-day workshop, there's usually time to do an editing session where you'll actually be able to put that photo together. So it's just sort of this more comprehensive experience of that immediate feedback to get those questions answered. And like I said, I mentioned when you're on YouTube and you're looking for things, when you're excited about something, something specific you want to learn about. So for example, you might want to look at exposure bracketing and you want to learn about that. So you go to YouTube and you search for it. But another component that's helpful with exposure bracketing is knowing how to use the histogram. And anyone who follows me or has been on one of my workshops or on my mailing list knows I'm a big proponent of using the histogram to get a proper exposure in the camera. Well, if you don't know about the histogram, you might gloss over it and not learn about it and how to use it successfully. But if you're out on a workshop, I'm going to be there, or the instructor is going to be there, and they're going to sort of introduce you to that topic so that you can learn some of those things that you didn't know to ask. So that's really the first reason, is sort of that immersive approach for that duration of the workshop. And like I said, I've been focusing in on the technical details, but then there's compositions. You can work through a composition with someone there to sort of critique it as you go. So you can make actual movements of the camera, unlike someone just reviewing your image where maybe you send them an image and say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? If you're at a landscape photography workshop, you can have someone real time. Let's try to lower your camera a little bit. Let's raise the camera. Let's move over this way, or sort of talk you through that composition. Just that real time feedback can be a really valuable learning tool and help you grow that and can help you grow that skill set a little faster. So that's the first reason, just that immersive real-time feedback to get that information. The next one is, these days, everyone's super busy. You get a limited amount of vacation time. You get a limited amount of time to go out and photograph places. So with a landscape photography workshop, you can sort of be guaranteed that you're going to get taken to some really cool places, and someone is going to have already done the research for you. So you can sort of focus in on the photography skills and less about some of the logistics of where do I go? How do I get there? Some of the places we go in West Virginia are down some pretty unusual looking roads, and you might be wondering, is this really going to where I want to go? It's you sure have to wind through this neighborhood to get there, and then you have to go a ways back. But if you're with a workshop leader, then there's that person knows where they're going. They're able to get you right to that spot. So you lose less time looking for things while you're at the workshop, as well as able to just sort of show up at the workshop and go to some cool places to take a look at them. Another advantage is the workshop leader typically will have scouted the area, been there numerous times. And so with changing weather, we'll know maybe we should change the schedule today because of the clouds tonight, this particular location is going to be better than another location. So again, it really sort of maximizes that time, both very efficient leading up to the workshop, so you're not having to do a whole bunch of research and you can focus in on your photography. And then while you're at the workshop, you can make sure to make the most of that time in that 2 or 3 or 4 days that you're there. So efficiency of time is another really important thing to landscape photography workshops. The third and final reason is just the networking component of it. These days, it's super easy to stay connected online through social media. I'm sure we've all got Instagram friends, Facebook friends that we communicate with, online communities for landscape photographers, and that's great. It's really good to have some other people you can talk virtually about landscape photography with, and that's great. But a workshop, you're going to have a small group of people, of like-minded people that you can sort of interact with, network with, laugh with while you're out there in the field, and can just be a really great time. In a lot of cases, some of these people will keep in touch after the workshop, and you sort of have this shared experience to draw from. So just that community aspect of a workshop and being around other people that like photography as much as you can be very rewarding. So those are my 3 reasons for attending a landscape photography workshop. Like I said, that immersive experience into skill building, that real-time feedback on your skills, whether it be technical, compositional, even fieldcraft is something that can be useful. I know in my last workshop, we sort of worked through some stuff about just some general hiking skills, safety skills, how to load the pack so it hikes a little better. Little things like that you might not pick up on YouTube or without an in-person experience. Number 2, just the efficiency of it all. Someone's taking care of a lot of the planning for you, both leading up to the workshop. And then once you're on the workshop, you're sure to visit the right places at the right time. So if the weather's being a little strange, the workshop leader can help guide you to the best places for that particular scenario and make sure you get the most of the workshop. And again, just meeting some other people in a workshop is a really cool experience to sort of build these friendships, and it can even strengthen the online relationships moving beyond there. So those are my 3 reasons. So I'm going to pause here just a second, catch my breath, and then if anyone wants to drop something in the chat, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we will move on to sort of my 2025 schedule. We'll talk a little bit about that. Let me get this pulled up here. So I am going to pull up my website for the 2025 workshop schedule. Now, I announced my 2025 workshop last week, and I have 4 of them currently scheduled. Let me share this out. Okay, so like I said, I announced these last week, my 2025 workshop schedule, and I just sort of wanted to go over these again. This is not a sales pitch. This is just an opportunity. If you have about these or sort of highlight what I'm doing this year, I thought it'd be a fun little way to do this. These are listed on my website underneath workshops, upcoming workshops. This is where I always list my workshops. So 2026, if I add any workshops, 25, they will show up on this upcoming workshops page first. And I have them all listed here. Now, this year I am adding 2 new locations. We'll sort of dive into that as we go through, and I'm going to go through these sort of individually. We'll take a look at the workshops. Some of them are multi-day, some of them are single day, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So the first one coming up is in the Great Smoky Mountains, and that's going to happen towards the end of April there. And this is a really great place. This is a new addition for me. I've been doing a lot of scouting in this over the course of the past year to get out there and get it figured out. Now, like anyone from Ohio, their family probably vacationed a lot in the Great Smoky Mountains. So I've been there a lot. I've done some backpacking in the Smoky. And then, like I said, this year I've been refreshing it from more of a photography perspective. And it is a multi-day workshop from April 22nd to April 26th. This itinerary in the Smokies, I sort of keep it fairly loose. We will base out of Townsend, Tennessee, which is the peaceful side of the Smokies. And it's really super relaxing compared to Gatlinburg and such, in my opinion, where it's super crazy, busy and crowded. Townsend, even on a really busy weekend, was pretty calm and pretty mellow, which I like and was appreciated. And it's also an easy access to Cades Cove, which is a really popular spot for things. But for this particular workshop, I don't outline the schedule super closely beyond saying we'll be heading out for sunrise. We'll do some sunrise photography. My workshops, I tend to build in a little bit of a break midday. I find that if people are going from bright and early sunrise to late at night sunset, they start to get mental fatigue, and it's hard to gather up all that stuff, or you start getting distracted because the workshop's going on and you're trying to check messages or something like that. So I tend to build in a little break, usually do a group lunch, do an hour and a half, 2 hour break. And then we come back and usually get together and do some form of group classroom, group instruction setting above and beyond what we do out in the field. A lot of times I take topics that the participants are suggesting. Typically, we'll always have at least an editing session. So we'll pull in a photo. A lot of times folks like to see what I do. So I'll pull in one of the photos I've taken on the trip, work through an editing session, take you from beginning to end, explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, what adjustments I'm making, and what I'm doing with the photo. Folks usually find that pretty helpful, but I've also done things at workshops before. There was questions on focus, how to get good focus, where to focus. And so we did a little exercise outside at one of our group sessions where we walked through focus. We talked about focus. We talked about hyperfocal distance and everything like that. We can do things on exposure bracketing, anything like that. But essentially, it's sort of a group. We've talked about white balance. One of these is where we talk about how to load a pack so it would be a little easier to hike. So those group sessions are really just sort of anything we need them to be. There's usually always an editing session, but we can always dive into something else. So we do those little classroom sessions, and then we head back out in the field for sunset. So like I said, because the weather changes and things, sometimes where I want to go or where we want to go is going to shift. Maybe it's a super overcast night, so we might not want to go to an overlook because tomorrow evening's weather looks a little bit more promising for a sunset, and we'd change what kind of overlook or anything like that we go to. But with that said, typical locations that we would go visit during a Great Smoky Mountains workshop would be Cades Cove. This one's super popular. It's a valley. It's an 11-mile loop drive through the park, and it's a one-way drive, and it has lots of mountain scenes. There's lots of trees. In the springtime, we'll have some wildflowers to take a look at, and then it also has a lot of wildlife. This is where you'll tend to see a lot of wildlife. One of my recent trips this year, I think I saw 20 plus bears over the course of the trip. And even on this most recent trip, we still saw like 3 or 4 bears on just like one loop around. So it's great. Why I typically do landscape photography, I'm happy to talk about wildlife photography. A lot of times I'll have someone along on a workshop that's a pretty good wildlife photographer, and then we can talk through how to photograph wildlife, what to look for, camera settings. They're different for wildlife photography than they are landscape photography. So in Cades Cove is an area where we'd talk about some of those differences between photographing landscapes and photographing wildlife. We'd head up over to Foothills Parkway, which is just outside of Townsend. We'd go up in the Tremont area. One of the big things that people like to do and we want to do while we're in the park is photograph streams. There are just so many streams that run through the Great Smoky Mountains that it's an amazing place to get photographs of cascades, streams. Being early spring like this, we get the nice light spring greens. So we just get this really nice look, and there's so many different streams to take a look at and do. The Little River, which is near the road, we'd do that. Kuwohi, which is formerly Klingman's Dome, great overlook spot, views in all sorts of different directions. The last time I was up there, it was like a kid in a candy store with so many different things to look at. We're running from place to place. Just a really cool place to take a look up there. Morton Overlook and Newfound Gap, other overlooks that are higher up in the mountains to get you those classic Smoky Mountain layer shots, sunrises, sunsets up around there. Then we got Roaring Fork, which is over really close to Gatlinburg, and it's sort of a motor trail and a lot of stream photography there as well. Again, with the spring greens, streams cascading through the mountains, a great place to go. So scroll through here, just some of these images. I won't hit all of them, but this is a representative example of things we'd see. Those layers up there, that was up from Kuwohi, some stream photography. This is just this black and white image over here is just from an overlook. A couple pictures of some bears that were in Cades Cove, some more streams, some more layers. Cades Cove was formerly a settlement for some early settlers back in the day, and there's still a lot of cabins and churches and wooden structures, and a lot of enjoy photographing these structures and getting photographs of them. Like I said, in the spring, potentially get some flowering dogwood trees or something like that as an accent to it. So super great there. Some of the spring greens right there at the lower left corner there with that bright green tree. It's just a really great time. And of course, the wildflowers down there in the lower right. You know, springtime, you can't really predict what's going to be where, but these are all things that we can see while we're out there in the Smoky Mountains looking at that. So that's the first one. That's at the end of April. I've already had a lot of attention on this one. So if you're interested in it, the registration hasn't fully opened for it yet. Doing sort of an I'm interested, got a couple things to get completely the I's dotted and the T's crossed on this one. But what I'm going to do is if you contact me through the I'm interested link, you will be the first person I contact before I open registration to the public. So you sort of get first right of refusal. I will email you, say, hey, you said you're interested. Do you want to go? Yes, no, yes, you're in. No, then I'll open up a spot for someone next. So that list is already starting to grow. So if you have interest in the Smoky Mountains one, that's a good one to jump on soon. Let's go over here, Hocking Hills. So this is one I run all the time. This is here in Ohio. Hocking Hills region. It is seasonal waterfalls. It's my favorite time to visit is late winter, early spring. And this is a one-day workshop. I've been running this one for several years now, and it's a really great one to see if a workshop is right for you. So if you're close to Ohio, tri-state area, the 5-state area, come in for this. There's lots of Airbnbs, lots of places to stay if you make a weekend of it. And this one, it's just a one-day workshop. We meet bright and early. We do a couple waterfalls before lunch. We do a boxed lunch in the park. We talk photography at the boxed lunch. And then we follow up with a couple more waterfalls in the afternoon to sort of take what we learned in the morning and put it even more to practice in the afternoon. But this one I think is a really good one from the standpoint is it's a low investment way to get a feel for a workshop. You know, committing to a multi-day workshop, you might be a little uneasy about, but Hocking Hills is a great one-day workshop. I love to explore this area. This is my local photography stomping grounds. We try to dodge the crowds the most we can. Like I said, I used to run a fall workshop in Hocking Hills, but the waterfalls tend to dry up by fall. So I lean towards doing the spring. Spring's one of the best times to go and visit this particular one. So Hocking Hills workshop. Now this registration is officially open, so you can register and get in on that one there. But Hocking Hills is a great one right here in Ohio. It's about an hour outside of Columbus if you're not completely familiar with it. But a one-day workshop, nice one to get your feet wet, see if you like a workshop from there. Next one, we skip forward into the fall. This is Blackwater Falls. This is over in the West Virginia area, the Davis-Thomas, West Virginia area. I've been doing this workshop for quite a while. I've done lots and lots of trips out to this underrated area, in my opinion. It is variety of scenery. We do waterfalls. We can go up into the Dolly Sods Wilderness, Bear Rocks Preserve, landscape there. This is a multi-day workshop. Like I said, it's a really great workshop. I actually keep this group size even smaller. I try to keep things small so that I have plenty of time to on that front. Hocking Hills is limited to 6 people. Blackwater Falls I limit to 4. And a lot of that is because there's a couple areas where we go where I don't really want us tripping over each other to get the shot. Some of the waterfalls we look at have it's just easier if you don't have a whole bunch of people down there. So I sort of keep this one pretty small as well to only 4 people. But like I said, we do multiple days. This one I have mapped out a little bit more on what we do on what day. It's always open to change. This last trip, I've been watching the clouds very closely to see which day we should go up to one of the sunrise spots because I was trying to optimize what's the best chance we can get. So all of these schedules are flexible, but this one's a little more set depending on the weather. And these are just some samples of what you can see in Blackwater Falls up here towards the top, upper left, I'm sorry, is a scenic overlook, Bear Rock Preserve. The middle picture there is Blackwater Falls. It's the namesake of the state park. Uh, Several other just really cool, interesting areas between the waterfalls, the overlooks, and everything like that. It's just a really fun workshop to go practice waterfall photography, practice fall photography. Like I said, I do try to time this with the fall colors. There's obviously no guarantee with fall colors. We did have colors this year. I've done this area enough that I usually feel pretty safe about predicting where we'll be able to get some color. One of the nice things about this workshop, the elevation changes from 4,000 feet down to like 2,000 feet. So you can usually find color at one of the elevations and do pretty good there. But that's my West Virginia workshop coming this fall. And then my last one, and this is another new one for me. I've not run this one before, though I've been here many times, is Death Valley. So I'm going to do a Death Valley National Park workshop this year, or 2025, and it's at the beginning of December. The temperatures have started to cool off, and it's a nice time to go visit. Now, Death Valley, again, it's a multi-day workshop. Get there on the 1st, 3 full days, and leave on the 5th. Again, this is sort of a real loose itinerary as well, because again, we sort of go based on the weather, and certain spots are going to look better at certain times, or if you're getting some clouds, might look better at one time versus another. So a little bit flexible, but similar to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park one, we do an early morning sunrises, we do, lunches midday, and then we take a little break, and then we reconvene for some classroom work, again, similar to the Great Smoky Mountains or any of my other multi-day workshops, where we get back, usually doing, like I said, an editing session, usually get topics that people want to hear more about. One of the things I do at a workshop is I always take notes of what people are asking about. And even midway through, I'll make a conscious effort to be like, okay, we're halfway through this workshop. We've learned about X, Y, and Z. What have we not hit on that you want to hear about that I haven't talked about, or what subject you want to dive into deeper? And these classroom sessions work great for that, to dive in and work on it. And some of this, the classroom session, it's nice to work on a concept when what you're photographing isn't important, so that when you reach an iconic spot, you're practicing the skill we learned in a more boring setting a little earlier in the day. So I like to use those classroom settings for that. When we talked focus at one of my workshops in West Virginia, we practiced it in sort of a not so scenic area, but it let people sort of work through it, play with it, and focus on the technical part of the focus and the focus stacking and what was going on. And then when we got to a very scenic spot, it let them take what they'd learned there and put it into place, instead of feeling like they were missing something by not taking the picture and working on the technical. So that's what the classroom sessions are for. But locations we will hit in Death Valley include Badwater Basin. That's the lowest point in North America. It's got these salt flats. Last year, there was an actual lake there. That very, very rarely happens. It's normally very dry, but it's get these cool little shapes in the salt, and you take pictures of and get the mountains off in the background, telescope peak in the distance. Zabriskie Point, this is a famous one. If you've done any research or looking on Death Valley, this is an iconic point. It's the upper left picture here is taken from Zabriskie Point. Just really cool, unique landscapes. And that's what I like about Death Valley. I've been out there several times, and it's just such a unique environment to photograph in, especially if you're from east of the Mississippi. It's just, Death Valley is unlike anything you've seen out there. One of my favorite areas, 20 Mule Team Canyon. It's just a dirt road drive through. It's sort of a Badlands area. I really enjoy spending time there. Good for sunrises, sunsets. There's some little canyons we can explore up in that way. Dante's View is this middle picture at the top row. This is taken from Dante's View. And it's sort of funny. You can be down at Badwater Basin, which is below sea level. And you can go up to Dante's View, which is close to around 5,000 feet, and photograph down on it. So there's all sorts of interesting things you can photograph from Dante's View. A good sunrise, sunset spot for that. Sand dunes. Everyone wants to see sand dunes when you go to Death Valley. There's several sets of sand dunes. We'll go to the Mesquite sand dunes, which are pictured here, upper right corner, and some dune marks down there off to the right. Super fun to visit. Really great. Again, sunrise, sunset, both work really well out there. Just a myriad of grand scenes with dunes and the mountains off in the background to smaller abstracts and things like that. So really cool place. Golden Canyon, just one of the little canyons we can go through, Desolation Canyon and Mosaic Canyon. So these are all hikes. They're not super hard hikes. Activity level for this one's moderate at least. The sand dunes are actually the hardest part we do just because the sand, it's hard to hike through sand. It's not so much that it's a long hike as much as just the sand gets to you. I list what the physical efforts are on these. I list this one's moderate to difficult just because that sand dune can be tough. The canyons, shorter hikes, but lots of great stuff to explore from there. So that's the Death Valley workshop. Like I said, this is the first time I'm leading something in Death Valley, and that's that one. Like I said, you can see the whole list of my upcoming workshops on my upcoming workshops page. Like I said, I've got the 4 on the books right now. And I'm really looking forward to it. Like, I've got a couple of my old favorites in there, and really looking forward to the Great Smoky Mountains one. I'm already getting several inquiries on that one. So again, if you're interested in that one, be sure to hit that interested button at the bottom. Let me know. And then same with Death Valley. There's still plenty of spots left for that one. Again, it's not until the end of next year, but you can pop into there as well. What else do we want to cover? I'm going to pause here. If you have questions on a workshop, go ahead and put it in chat. If you're not comfortable asking it here in this setting, by all means, you can use that same I'm interested or contact form to shoot me a question. Anything about the workshops in general, anything about my 3 reasons to go to a workshop. Like I said, I think landscape photography workshops are important. If you're not close to me, or maybe there's another photographer whose style and yours on the fence of do I want to go to a workshop, I think you'll gain benefit from a workshop, whether it's something I lead or some other to do. I think it's a really important thing to do as a photographer to help grow your skill set. So like I said, I'm going to pause here for the Q&A section. Feel free to pop questions over there in chat. Or like I said, you're welcome to contact me through my contact form. I'm happy to answer any questions about workshops, the 3 reasons to go to a workshop, or anything about mine. So I'll pause here for a second. Okay. So that's what I had for tonight. Like I said, it wasn't going to be super long. I just sort of wanted to try one of these YouTube lives just to sort of see how it went. Talk a little bit about workshops. I thought it'd be a decent way to do it. Like I said, the 3 reasons to go. Take a quick look at my 2025 schedule. If you guys have any questions, like I said, my contact information is on my website, jeffreytadlock.com. Happy to answer questions on the 3 reasons, my workshops, or anything landscape photography in general. If you just want to reach out on something else, I'd be happy to answer them. And I appreciate everyone showing up tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was helpful, and look forward to hearing from you.